Well, hello friends and welcome to Johto. Today I want to attempt a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon HeartGold using only Ground-type Pokemon. In Generation 1, the Ground-type I feel was vastly overlooked. A lot of them were combined with the Rock-type, giving them quad weaknesses to both Grass and Water-type Pokemon. And the other Ground-type Pokemon that didn't have the dual typing were Pokemon like Sandshrew or Diglett or Cubone. Diglett was at least fast, but the other Pokemon left a little bit to be desired. Today I want to use some of those Pokemon in this playthrough as well as the Johto Pokemon that were introduced and later on, maybe a couple from Hoenn and Sinnoh. This is going to be a very fun run. I love ground-type Pokemon. Really, I just love Pokemon, let's be perfectly honest. I'm excited to see what these Pokemon can do in the remake of the Gen 2 games, so without further ado, let's get this run underway. None of the starters, of course, are ground type, so we picked the Cyndaquil, giving our rival the Totodile. This is going to give us the biggest quote-unquote challenge. We all know that the only challenging battle we're going to have with the rival is the rival battle in Azalea. After the early game tutorial stuff, we head back to the Pokemon lab to deliver Mr. Pokemon's news to Professor Elm. However, the cops are implicating us in the theft of the stolen Pokemon. Luckily for us, Lyra is coming to our aid here because Professor Elm is staring at our hat wondering, is Zap's rival Florida Man? We're going to nickname our rival Algorithm because we've done that in every run before this one, and of course we are trying to beat the Algorithm both in-game and in real life. The in-game Algorithm is only going to be difficult in Azalea, as I've mentioned before. In the real-life Algorithm is going to be difficult all the time. As a matter of fact, to defeat that Algorithm, I need your help. You can help me defeat the Algorithm by liking the video, commenting, subscribing to the channel, hitting the notification bell, of course sharing this video with anybody you deem fit. All interactions do help out 10 tons. I say this week in and week out. Thank you guys for the continued support. This ride has been absolutely amazing. And obviously without the support, it would be really hard to get behind the mic each and every week doing these videos. You guys make it much easier by helping out, sharing this video, and helping it reach the vast amount of people across YouTube. Now once again, we are doing a Johto run, so with that, we need to go talk to our mom. The professor tells us to, but it is important in these Gen 4 remakes that we have her save money, as we can get some really nice items like the Silk Scarf, the Choice Scarf, the Type Weakening Berries. All of those different things come with our mom saving some money. On Route 46, that is just north of Route 29, we find Libya the Geodude. It has a hasty plus speed and minus defense nature. That's perfectly fine. This is going to be an amazing starter. In Pokemon Heart Gold or Soul Silver, we can get an egg from Primo, and if you look up Pokemon Heart Gold Primo Egg, come to this website right here, it will load for you the secret code generator. You type in your version of the game, the language you're playing on, and your trainer ID number, and this will generate the codes that you need to get the box wallpapers or one of 3 eggs from Primo. We really don't need the Mareep or the Whooper egg because those are available south of Violet City, but this is a neat thing nonetheless. And in case you didn't know this, inside of the Pokemon Center to the right of the Nurse Joy is Primo. This is the Teachy TV guy from Pokemon Fire Red. He will give you the box wallpapers or one of 3 eggs depending on the input that you got from the website we showed off moments ago. I did decide to get the Primo egg for the Whooper. We named it Sudan. It has a calm plus special defense and minus attack nature. The most important thing is that it has the water absorb ability. If it had damp, we would reset, but we can continue on with the run. Now, climbing the Bellsprout Tower is very scary. Both of our Pokemon have a quad weakness to grass, and I have been doing some EV training in the Ruins of Alph for Sudan. Unknowns give both attack and special attack EVs every time you KO one, and Sudan is going to be a bit of a mixed attacker eventually. Now, we can one-shot these low-level Bellsprouts with mud shots. That crit did not matter. But as we climb higher in the tower, we're going to get to some level 6 Bellsprouts that could spell a little bit of disaster for us, so it makes things very dangerous as we progress forward. As we take on the final Sage before Elder Lee, we would survive a critical hit Vine Whip from a level 6 Bellsprouts. Now, depending on the nature, That could change things. We're going to continue to tread lightly as we take on Elder Lee, but I really don't see a problem finishing out the Sprout Tower. Now, just because the Sprout Tower is a mandatory section of the game doesn't mean you always hit the level cap, and of course we need to gain a level as well as do a little bit of EV training here on Route 31. Libya is of course the answer into Falkner. So whilst we grab another level and some EVs, I'm going to talk a little bit about the channel, and I know some of you don't like that. Just skip ahead, it's okay. What I want to talk about is the influx of DMs that we've been getting from people asking to either make thumbnails for me or edit my videos. I think that is absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, I can't swing that right now. I have a big family trip planned in October, and that is what the main focus is. I do not mind the DMs at all. Keep them coming. Eventually we will take advantage of it, but I know that artwork and time is money, so I don't want anybody doing any of these things for free. I do want to pay my way, but right now we just can't do it. What's really neat is the old channel that we ran for many years, way back when. I never got any of those DMs, so seeing this stuff come in and kind of the popularity increase of the channel, it's really neat. Gets me behind the mic, excited to do these videos. Real quick though, before we cut to the next clip, I want to talk about the thumbnails I do make and editing of my own video. I have geared everything with time management in mind. I've had a few people comment saying, I don't know how you do these videos as well as work, travel, the whole 9 yards, it's insane. Well, that's because I optimize everything. Making a thumbnail takes 5 minutes. I do most of it on Canva. Sometimes GIMP, just depends on what I'm really trying to do, but I have the backgrounds already ready. I have the different Pokemon versions ready. I have the hardcore Nuzlocke part ready. I have whatever the monotype is ready. And then of course I pick a Pokemon that is either the MVP or very clickable, and that's how I make the thumbnail. I mash all that together. It takes like 5 minutes. They're not the greatest thumbnails, but I think they're relatively clean. As far as the editing of the videos go, I don't record the entire gameplay and then edit it down from there because that would take too much time on my end. I think these videos thoroughly from start to finish. I only record the clips that you guys see. There's a little bit of B-roll that does get recorded just in case I want to do something like we're doing right now, but predominantly it is just clips. I have a notepad, I write down each and every clip, a rough version of what I'm going to say. You guys know we don't script these things, it's all off the cuff, and then we go from there. So I have the clips recorded, we do the voiceover, and then we put them together in DaVinci with a little bit of game music, and that is the video you guys see. It does take a little bit of time, a couple of hours putting all that stuff together and adding any other background stuff that we want to, but like I said, it is optimized. Falkner's flying types are immune to ground type Pokemon, but we have Libya with part rock typing. We do get outsped because we are a slow rock and hit with a sand attack that's very annoying, but we break through the minus accuracy to knock out the Pidgey in a single rock throw. Pidgeotto is also going to outspeed us, but Gust doesn't do that much damage. Rock Throw does over half, and then it is a rinse and repeat. We get hit with Gust. The -1 to accuracy never mattered as we take out the Pidgeotto. In Union Cave, we could catch an Onix, but I think Sandshrew named Chad with a docile neutral nature is going to be a much better Pokemon in the long run. Onix would be better in the short term, but I'm thinking long term here, not short term. Plus, Sandshrew is one of my favorite Pokemon. With Libya having part rock typing, of course that's our answer into Bugsy's bug type Pokemon. The Scyther takes quad super effective damage from our rock moves. Focus Energy is scary, missing a rock throw is scary, Leer is scary, but quad super effective damage one-shots the Scyther. It's just a cleanup at this point with the Metapod in Kakuna. However, getting to level 18 here puts us really close to the level cap for Misty, and we don't want to overlevel Libya. So we have to keep that in mind as we take out the Metapod in the Kakuna, because we have a rival battle that is the only mandatory battle between now and Whitney. With the level cap so close, and Libya almost at the level cap, we're going to lead Sudan against the Ghastly. That's a little bit scary as this thing does like to go for Curse. Luckily for us, it's going for Spite. 3 water guns is going to take it out. Spite is perfectly fine, and after the second water gun, it just goes for Mean Look. Perfect. As the Croconaw comes out, we want Sudan in because of our water absorb ability. It still can hit us with bite or rage, so we're just going to go for tail whips, lowering this thing's defense. We don't want to swap Libya in because of the level cap problems as well as our quad weakness to water, so we're going to get this thing to -6, bring in Chad, and do some damage. It's a little bit risky to do this, but we don't have a physical attack on Sudan. I do need Chad for an upcoming battle, so we gotta risk things, go big or go home, right? No physical moves on Sudan, so we bring Chad in. Luckily, Chad gets hit with a rage because Croconaw's not going to go for a water gun, and then a scary face. Don't know what the speed strats are all about, but we do get hit with a water gun down to 13 HP. That was a very risky thing there because we could have lost Chad here, but we move on. Zubat comes out, so I decide to swap into Libya, who can afford a little bit of experience. Supersonic is very annoying. The Bite Flinch is even more annoying. We miss a Rock Throw, very annoying, but we do break through Confusion finally and knock out the Zubat. With nothing else really to do other than take on Whitney, we take on Whitney. Libya is once again the lead. We're going to go for a Rock Throw turn 1 because it likes to go for Mimic. We want Clefairy to mimic something like Rock Throw instead of Magnitude. Now what we need to do is we need to set up Rock Polishes so that we're faster than the Miltank. At +4, we're at a speed tie, so we need to get that third one to get us to +6. Metronome is very scary, but we go unpunished as we get hit with a double slap, and then a second Rock Smash should take out the Clefairy. It doesn't. We get a defense drop, and then a Rock Throw, which is perfectly fine. Super Potion, back-to-back Rock Smashes are going to take out the Clefairy, and this puts us in very good position as the Miltank comes out. We outspeed, we resist its stomps. A critical hit from the first stomp does suck, but we have a held Oranberry to keep us healthy, so now we're free to get those defense drops and Rock Smashes off as we tank stomps, eventually getting a critical hit and knocking out the Miltank, making Whitney relatively easy this go-round. Now, before you start shouting in the comment section about the Nidorans, I know that they're available on Route 35 and 36, however, they are pure poison types until they evolve into Queen and King respectively, and they need a Moonstone. The first time that we can get our hands on a Moonstone is at the Pokeathlon that is not available until after we beat Whitney. So, we couldn't get our hands on Nido King or Nido Queen before we took on Whitney. I have both of the Nidorans caught, we just need a Moonstone. So now we get to do some Pokeathlon grinds for 2 Moonstones. The female Nidoran was caught on Route 35. It has a Lax plus defense and minus special defense nature. We nicknamed it Egypt, and this thing is a decent special attacker when fully evolved. On Route 36, we catch the male named Molly. It has a docile neutral nature. This thing is going to wait for a very long time before we can evolve it. I want to wait until it learns Poison Jab at level 43. With a Moonstone in hand, we can evolve Egypt quickly into a Nido Queen, giving ourselves a very big bulk increase as well as some attack power on the team with access to things like Ice Beam and Thunderbolt. Squirt Bottle, huh? That's basically piss, right? The tree doesn't like to be peed on, and then it attacks. Makes sense? I do apologize. That was a very poor attempt at a very poor joke. I'm sorry. Please continue. Just before heading into the Burn Tower, we have a nice evolution with Sudan evolving into a Quagsire. And look, he just wants a hug. Please hug Sudan. Dealing with our rival going forward is going to be relatively easy because we have access to some really good moves. Against his Ghastly, we lead Chad. We do get outsped and tagged with a mean look, but a super effective Shadow Claw that we got from the outside of Ekritique one-shots. As the Croconaw comes out, of course it's a swap into Sudan. I almost swapped into Egypt because I forgot the order of my Pokemon, but we were paying attention and swap into a Scary Face. I don't understand why it goes for a second one because we're already outsped. Mud Bomb does a third. It goes for another one to bring us to -6 and we miss a Mud Bomb. Ice Fang does some chipping, we bring this thing to a third before it tries to go for Water Gun, fully healing us up. We take it out with one more Mud Bomb and out comes Zubat. This of course is a swap into Libya. I'm starting to get deja vu as we get hit with a Supersonic. We're outsped and flinched from a bite. Ugh, we get hit with another bite, but we break through to one shot with Rock Throw. Not quite deja vu. Now, as the Magnemite comes out, his newest team member, we have taught Dig to Chad. I maybe should have saved this for a different encounter, but it is what it is. We can one-shot the Magnemite after a Sonic Boom with a quad super effective Stab Dig. And before we take on Morty, we're going to have a couple of evolutions, starting with Libya evolving from a Geodude into a Beastly Graveler. And finally, before we take on Morty, Chad evolves into a Sandslash. Sandslash is probably my favorite shiny Pokemon. Now, there was quite a bit of planning before we took on Morty. We did a lot of EV training with Chad, speed EVs and attack EVs primarily. We outspeed the Ghastly, and we one-shot it with a super effective Shadow Claw. We are not going to outspeed the Gengar, but we had a held Lumberry just in case of Hypnosis connecting, which it did, so we can hit a Shadow Claw for over half. Citrus Berry heals it up a little bit, it misses a Hypnosis, and we take it out. That is the biggest threat on his team gone. We can easily deal with the Haunters because we outspeed. Unfortunately, the second one has Sucker Punch, and it goes for Sucker Punch, so we take a little bit of damage before we finally defeat Morty's Ghost-type Pokemon. We're now at the point of the run where we meet Jasmine, and of course she has a request of us to head across the ocean to Cianwood to get the secret potion for Amphi. As I've said many times before, I will absolutely do anything and everything that she requests, no questions asked. Before heading back with the secret potion to help Jasmine, we take on Chuck, the fighting-type gym leader. Now his Poliwrath with Stab super effective Surf is a bit scary, but we have Sudan. This is the whole reason that we got him with Water Absorb way back when. Surf takes Primeape low, and then Chuck brings in Poliwrath to absorb the Surf with Water Absorb. That's my strategy. A Focus Punch connects after a Yawn because we didn't attack this thing, and it would have KO'd if it had crit. I didn't know that it was going to do that. Luckily it goes for Hypnosis on the swap in. I did have a held Lumberry just in case, and then Thunderbolt takes it to half. Citrus Berry is going to pull this thing out of KO range, so we're going to drop it low, but we get the Sleep Luck here, and Chuck goes for a Hyper Potion. Now we outspeed and we can take out the Poliwrath with 2 Thunderbolts. This was a little bit of a scary battle, but we got through it in the end, unscathed, and we didn't lose a single Pokemon. We still got a pretty low team with only 4 members. I'm hoping to rectify that very soon. One more Thunderbolt takes out the Primeape, and that is the 5th gym badge in our pocket. Heading to the top of the lighthouse to give Jasmine the secret potion isn't just about helping Jasmine or helping the Ampharos, it's a team effort to make things better here in Johto, which is a very feral land. But more importantly, we now have access to the Safari Zone. The Safari Zone is not that important. What is important is a couple of routes before the Safari Zone where we can get our hands on some new encounters. On Route 48, we can catch a Diglett named Niger. It has a bold plus defense and minus attack nature. Now wait a second, where is Diglett? Like the rest of Diglett that's underground, the portion that we never see on the bridge? How? Yeah, I'm confused too, dude. Oh, it's holding something. Hell yeah, I'm gonna take it. What do you have? What? Give it. Drop it. In the basement floor of the Cliff Cave, at level 23, we can Repel Manipulate to guarantee ourselves an encounter. With the Diglett we just caught and a couple of levels gained, we now can run around with Repels until we find our next encounter, which is a Steelix named Tunisia that has a lonely plus attack and minus defense nature. That is absolutely perfect. This is an amazing Pokemon and a very welcome addition to the team. This also brings us up to 6 Pokemon, finally. Niger then evolves from a Diglett into 3 Digletts that we call a Doug Trio. Lance gets a nice KO, and we get to take on Pryce. Now, Pryce has a level cap that is 1 level lower than Jasmine's. That's why we do it out of order. You guys know how the Johto things go. With the choice specs equipped, we can actually one-shot the Seal with a Thunderbolt. We're going to be able to one-shot the Dugong that comes out next as well. His Ice-type Pokemon are a little bit dangerous against our Ground-type team. Unfortunately, being locked into Thunderbolt means we're going to have to swap on the Piloswine, but it likes to go for Blizzard, which is very inaccurate. As we see here, it misses the first one, we are outsped and it misses a second one, and we one-shot with a Surf. Very nice. We then do an immediate backtrack to Olivine to take on Jasmine and her Steel-type Pokemon. We take the choice specs off of Egypt and equip them to Sudan, who can one-shot sweep her entire team with choice specs boosted Stab Surfs. Magnemite goes down to 1, we're immune to its electric type attacks. Steelix has a very poor special defense, so it's easily one-shot as well. We didn't even need the extra level. The next Magnemite comes out, does hit us with a supersonic because it outspeeds, but we break through and one-shot it with a surf, just like the one before it. In the middle of the Rocket storyline stuff, we have another battle with Algo. His team once again is going to be very easy for our team to deal with, especially with Egypt, the Choice Specs, and Thunderbolt. There was no real dangers climbing the Pokemon Radio Tower. Petrol's team that can go boom was easily walled by Tunisia and Libya. We don't one-shot the Feraligatr, and a critical hit water gun would have taken us out, so that is very scary, but we go unpunished. The rest of his team is not going to be able to do anything else to our team, so let's move on. Now that we are on our way to the 8th and final gym, I have a trade evolution trading Libya over so that it evolves into a beastly golem. In the ice path, we catch ourselves a Swinub that is named Algeria. It has a Jolly plus speed and minus special attack nature. This is one of the few Pokemon that can evolve into its Sinnoh form before the National Dex. And not too long later, we have the first of two evolutions with Algeria evolving into a Piloswine. Beastly Pokemon. Getting to Blackthorn, having a heart scale, and reteaching Piloswine Ancient Power allows us to gain one more level and evolve it into a beastly Mamoswine. This now brings us to Clair and her Dragon-type Pokemon. Of course, she doesn't lead with a Dragon-type Pokemon, she leads with a Gyarados. The Intimidate doesn't matter as we soak that up, and a Choice Specs boosted Thunderbolt is going to take out the Gyarados. This, of course, is going to bait in the Kingdra. Should be going for Hydro Pump, so it is a swap into Sudan. Sudan, of course, absorbs the Hydro Pump on the swap in, and now we're going to fire off a Yawn. We get tagged with a Smoke Screen, which is annoying. I'm a little bit worried about losing Sudan here, so we're going to swap into Pokemon we could lose, but we just get tagged with another Smoke Screen. This didn't quite go according to my plan, as I don't want Libya in here. So rather than attacking, I decide to swap in Algeria. This is very dangerous grounds that we are playing on. We're going to hit an Ice Fang, and it doesn't quite do half. Damn. Another one is going to take this thing into berry range, and then Citrus Berry is going to pull it out of another KO. So rather than risk it, it's time to bring Sudan back in. Perfect. Kingdra stays asleep. We're getting some very good luck. It does wake up, and it uses Hyper Beam. That's awesome. Ice Beam doesn't KO, but it's locked in, so we can take this thing out with one more Ice Beam. Very, very nice. That was a huge, huge threat. With the Dragonair coming out, it's now a swap back into Algeria. We have to tank a Dragon Pulse on the swap in. Algeria is very fast and can outspeed, taking out the Dragonair with a super effective stab Ice Fang. The last Dragonair comes out, and it too falls to an Ice Fang like the one before it, and that is 8 Johto Gems in our pocket. After completing the Dragon Trial, we make our way to the top of Tin Tower to catch Ho-Oh. We then take Ho-Oh to the ruins of Alph to get our hands on the Life Orb. Then we can finally make our way to the Indigo Plateau. Before heading in to take on the Elite Four, though, we get Molly to level 43 where it learns Poison Jab, and we can finally evolve this thing into a Nidoking. It has just been sitting in the box, waiting for its opportunity. And here are the 6 Pokemon I've decided to take on the Elite Four with. Starting out, we have Chad, the Sandslash with Headbutt, Aerial Ace, Shadow Claw, and Dig. Tunisia, the Steelix with Earthquake, Ice Fang, Iron Tail, and Fire Fang. Sudan, the Quagsire with Earthquake, Surf, Ice Beam, and Yawn. Next up is Algeria, the Mamoswine with Ice Shard, Earthquake, Ice Fang, and Ancient Power. Our newest member Molly, the Nidoking with Earth Power, Poison Jab, Thunderbolt, and Shadow Ball. And last but certainly not least is Egypt, the Nidoqueen with Thunderbolt, Sludge Bomb, Ice Beam, and Earth Power. Will Psychic-type Pokemon pose a pretty big threat to both Egypt and Molly? So against the Xatu, I am leading Algeria. Algeria does not have a held item. We do naturally outspeed and one-shot with some raw stab super effective Ice Fangs. Of course, baited out next is going to be the Slowbro, but Slowbro is a bro and it's kind of slow. So it doesn't typically go for water or psychic moves, so we're going to bring in Egypt. I thought this was a little bit risky, but I see a curse as we come in, no big deal. We fire off a nasty Thunderbolt, taking this thing well below half, and it just goes for another curse. That's perfectly fine because we can take it out with another Thunderbolt. This should bait in the Jinx next. which it does, and we are going to swap into Tunisia. Tunisia is going to be able to tank these psychics much, much easier than Egypt, which we see here. A lovely kiss connects, and that is very, very annoying, because now we're tanking psychics to the face. We resist them so they're not doing much damage, but still staying asleep for this many turns is annoying. It's just payback for all the times that we put the other Pokemon to sleep. A Fire Fang takes out the Jinx, and this just leaves the Executor and the last Xatu. So it is a swap back into Algeria as the Executor decides to set up a Reflect. It is a bit annoying because Ice Fang does over half. We could have one-shot this thing for sure. We take a Psychic down to 106 HP before we take out the Executor, and this just leaves the Xatu. With the Reflect up, we're not going to be able to one-shot this thing. We should be able to survive a Psychic provided it doesn't crit. After the heal up from the Citrus Berry, the Psychic does in fact not crit, so we sit at 43 HP as we take out the Xatu, winning the first bat against Will. Koga's Poison-type Pokemon are easily walled by Tunisia, so of course that is my lead. His Ariados and all of his Pokemon actually are going to outspeed me, which is a little bit annoying, but that help Zoom Lens is going to come in clutch. Giga Drain does some chip, and then Fire Fang doesn't quite take out the Ariados. So we burn Koga's full restore before doing some more damage with Fire Fang. A little bit more chip with Giga Drain, and a third Fire Fang finally takes it out. His next Pokemon out, of course, is Fortress, and it does what it likes to do best, go for Protect. Then it outspeeds and sets up Toxic Spike, which is perfectly fine, and then a quad super effective Fire Fang doesn't take it out. I either forgot to do some EV training, or we're just that weak? I don't think so. We have a plus attack nature. Interesting. Venomoth then comes out and we tank a Psychic very nicely, but it gets the special defense drop before again we don't quite take out the Venomoth. What? Ice Fang then takes out the Venomoth, and next out is the Crobat. Come to find out, I did miss about 100 attack EVs that we could have easily given Tunisia. So yeah, this one was on me. We don't quite do half with Ice Fang, so rather than sit here and play this game with the back and forth, I decided to swap in Algeria. This is dangerous because we get poisoned pretty badly. Wing Attack does some chip, but I can go for Ice Shard, which misses, of course it does. Double Team is fine, more chip from poison, and then Ice Shard takes out the Crobat. This does put us in pretty good position as the poison won't take us out. We don't want to lose Algeria here, and we can swap in Tunisia back when the Muck comes out because it has absolutely nothing it can do to us offensively. It just goes for Minimize twice before a Stab super effective Earthquake does in fact get the one shot. Bruno's fighting type Pokemon don't have a good matchup against my team. I also don't have a good matchup against his team. The Hitmontop does like to go for counter, so we can avoid that by going for Earth Power, which it tries to go for counter, so we take it out with one more, never taking a tick of damage. The Onix is going to come out next, and it's going to fall to a Stab super effective Earth Power. Our special attack is low, but that crit did not matter. As the Hitmonchan comes out, we're going to swap it up for Poison Jab, which does more damage, but not quite KO. The poison is nice. After tanking an Ice Punch, it goes down to the poison damage. Hitmonlee we outspeed and naturally one-shot with a Poison Jab, and this puts us in pretty good position as his last Pokemon, Machamp, comes out. We fire off a nasty Poison Jab doing over half, activating its Citrus Berry, and then we get taken pretty low with that boosted Revenge. This is very risky what I do next, staying in, hoping for a range that we don't get, as a Cross Chop takes us down to 18 HP. Full Restore is fine, we can two-shot the Machamp from here, but that was very risky and I was playing kind of fast and loose. We ultimately get through Bruno though without losing a single Pokemon after another Full Restore and two more Poison Jabs. Of course, Shell Bell doing a little bit of heal up in the process. Last for the Elite Four is Karen and her Dark-type Pokemon, which are completely walled by Algeria. We're not going to one-shot the Umbreon, but we're going to do massive damage with Earthquake. Of course, it is a little bit annoying trying to go for Double Team, but that doesn't matter to us as we take it out with one more. Now, I remember using Algeria in my Ice-only playthrough, and he did not do this good, at least from what I can remember. I thought this Pokemon was kind of a dud in these games, but I am quickly realizing that I underused this Pokemon in my Ice-only run, because we sweep Karen with just Algeria, and I know it's going to do good in the post-game in Kanto. Gengar does have Focus Blast, but we were never dead even to a crit, so we two-shot it with Ice Fang, and our last Pokemon is a Murkrow that is going to easily go down. Never mind, it's going to miss an Ice Fang and get Whirlwinded out into Tunisia. An Ice Fang from Tunisia takes out the Murkrow. Now Lance has got a pretty stacked flying type team, and once again flying is immune to ground type, so we have to come in with a little bit different of a plan. Egypt of course is the lead against the Gyarados. With the choice specs, we one-shot with that quad super effective, beautiful move. Dragonite with Blizzard comes out next, so it is a swap into Algeria. Luckily we avoid the Blizzard, so now we can outspeed with the Choice Scarf to one-shot it with a quad super effective Stab Ice Fang. The Choice Scarf is just in case. Charizard is then baited out next, so it's a swap into Sudan on a Shadow Claw. That's random, it gets a crit though. Air Slash then takes us to 24 HP before a Surf doesn't take out the Charizard. I thought for sure that Lance would heal here, so I decided to swap in Chad just in case. Chad's a little bit of fodder. We get hit with a nasty little Shadow Claw in the swap in and no heal. Okay, Headbutt takes him low and gets the flinch, and then Lance goes for a full restore. Headbutt does a little bit of chip, another Headbutt down to half, Air Slash takes us all the way to 29 HP, and watch Chad clutch this up with a flinch. That is insane. I was going to sacrifice Chad because it kind of fell off here in the late game, but oh my goodness, what a Pokemon. What a champion. Because of that, I'm not going to sacrifice this Pokemon now. I should though, really. Because as the Dragonite comes out, I decide to swap in Algeria on a nasty Outrage, taking us all the way down to 55 HP. The Choice Scarf allows us to outspeed just in case, and that quad super effective Stab Ice Fang takes it out. The next Dragonite comes out, this is his last one, and it goes down as well. His last Pokemon, of course, is going to be an Aerodactyl, and this Pokemon is very speedy, so he is very scary. It is a swap into Egypt, though, as I don't want to lose Algeria at this point, and we swap in on a Rock Slide that doesn't do much. We now get hit with an Aerial Ace that gets a critical hit to 20 HP, but gets the poison damage, so the Thunderbolt takes it low, poison takes it out. That is the champion. Oh my god, there was some luck in that battle, but we made it through. Now at this point, technically we have beaten the run, but I know if I didn't do Kanto, you guys would scream at me in the comment section. You know what? Scream at me in the comment section anyway, it's great for the algorithm. Let's head to Kanto. Now before we head to Kanto, there are a few things that we need to do. Firstly, we head to the port like we're heading to Kanto, but this is to talk to Professor Oak, so he upgrades our decks to the National Dex. This will allow us to catch Hoenn and Sinnoh Pokemon using the Hoenn and Sinnoh sounds on Wednesdays and Thursdays respectively. There is a certain teammate that I want to get before we head off to Kanto. That's the reason that Chad was expendable. There's been a couple of Pokemon that haven't been on the team in a while, and so Chad is going to sit in the box. I was willing to sacrifice it for our next teammate. Before we do any of that, though, we can also head over to the Battle Frontier and get our hands on things like another Earthquake TM, which is going to be very vital for the crew, as well as things like the Choice Band. There's just a bunch that we need to grind out in the Battle Frontier before we head to Kanto. In the Ilex Forest, we catch a Numel named Senegal. It has a timid, plus speed, and minus attack nature. That's perfectly fine. This is a great addition to the team. And now that we have our new moves, as well as our new teammate, it's time to board the fast ship SS Aqua and head over to the Kanto region. After battling all of the trainers on the boat, we have another evolution with Senegal evolving into a Camerupt. This is the team that I hope makes it to red. Now as we cross the pier here into Vermilion City, this is very nostalgic and it's time to take on the Kanto gyms. You know as well as I know that the Kanto gyms are very easy. There is an order to these, I've said it many times before, I'm going to say it again. I see a lot of Nuzlockers just set the level cap to 53 and start doing things in order starting in Vermilion City. Janine's level cap is level 50, so we're going to make our way to Fuchsia City first. Now typically we can breeze through the gym leaders of Kanto as they are mostly easy. Looking ahead at our list, Janine's going to be easy, Surge is going to be easy, Brock should be okay, Misty's going to pose a little bit of a threat, and then after that we don't have a threat until Blue. We are going to do some swapping around here against Janine's team, taking out the Ariados with our newest team member, Senegal, getting a little limelight. Wheezing is going to be a swap into Tunisia to avoid the Toxic. There is going to be a Missed Iron Tail, which is a little bit annoying because we have a held zoom lens, so those things should be almost 100% accurate, but a couple of Iron Tails later and we take out the Wheezing. Again, I did forget to do the rest of my EV training, so Firefang, of course, is not going to take out the Venomoth, as it just went for a double team. We get hit with a very weak Signal Beam, luckily it doesn't confuse us, and we break through the double team to KO it. Our last Pokemon is Ariados, so we're going to swap back into Senegal, who's proven to be a value member of the team already, with a couple of Flamethrowers taking out Ariados, respectively. Quickly heading back to Vermilion, we can take on Surge and his team. With the held Choice Scarf, we actually outspeed his entire team and can one-shot with Stab, super effective Earthquakes. Against the Magneton, it was Quad super effective. But look at that. Mamoswine outspeeding an Electrode, that is absolutely beautiful. Again, I slept on this Pokemon, that's on me. It is phenomenal. As I said moments ago, Misty is the only real threat. Choice Specs boosted Thunderbolt is still a range to KO the Golduck, but we get the range. Out next is going to be the Quagsire, and we need to swap, and I'm going to bring in Algeria. Typically, this Pokemon likes to go for Amnesia, so the fact that it went for Earthquake is a little bit annoying. We fire off an Earthquake doing well over half, and then it goes for Amnesia like I thought it would in the first place. At full health, Algeria survives a critical hit Water Pulse from the Lapras. At this health, we don't survive a crit, so we need to cross our fingers and hope for some luck, which we get dropped down to 30 HP before we take out the Lapras with another Earthquake. This is going to bring out her Starmie, which is her ace. Very fast Pokemon we cannot stay in. It's a swap into Sudan. We avoid a Water Pulse on the swap in, and now we get confused. We need to break through confusion because I forgot to equip the berry. Get off a Yawn, and it is a swap into Egypt at this point. Little bit risky, but it goes for Ice Beam, which would have KO'd if it had crit. That was extremely dangerous, but we one-shot with the Choice Specs and Thunderbolt, so we go unscathed through Misty. My original plan for Brock was to lead Senegal, Sunny Day, and Solar Beam. However, the Graveler with Stab Earthquake would have one-shot us, so Sudan goes out to one-shot the Graveler. Then we bait in a Giga Drain from the Kabutops, so it's a swap into Egypt. I forgot this thing had Aqua Jet, but no matter, a crit wouldn't have KO'd, and a Thunderbolt takes out the Kabutops. Rhyhorn comes out next, so Sudan comes back in to close out the rest of the battle. We eat up that Earthquake very nicely, and then a Quad super effective Surf knocks out the Rhyhorn. Onyx comes out and outspeeds to set up the Sand. Doesn't matter as his Surf KOs it, and his last Pokemon is Omastar. Omastar is going to go for Brine, which we absorb because of Water Absorb, and then we take it below half with Earthquake. A Protect is just delaying the inevitable. A Spike Cannon is a Latch Disc effort. You say that 5 times fast before we take it out with another Earthquake. Jeez. Sabrina's team is going to be taken on by Algeria. With the Choice Scarf, we outspeed every single one of her Pokemon, and with Stab Earthquake, we one-shot every single one of her Pokemon. It's amazing to watch this Pokemon in action. I should never have slept on you. I apologize. Next up is Erica, and her grass types are a little bit dangerous. If the Jumpluff had set up Sunny Day, the Victory Bell would actually outspeed us, but since it didn't, we outspeed, and we can one-shot with Flamethrowers, and that's it. That's the end of the battle. We one-shot all of her Pokemon with Flamethrower from this point. One little difference in move could have made or break the battle. I was going to pivot Senegal out, but one-shot sweep. Molly hasn't seen any post-game screen time, so I lead him against Blaine's fire types, and it's a outspeed and one-shot sweep with Stab super effective Earthquake. Even his Rapidash is outspeed by Molly. What a great Pokemon. Now, Blue is a real challenge, and his team being non-monotype means we have to plan with our monotype team around all of his Pokemon. His lead Executor goes down to a Stab super effective Wise Glasses boosted Flamethrower from Senegal. This is going to bait in the Gyarados, and I could swap into Sudan to avoid the Waterfall, but it's just going to go for Dragon Dance and then Waterfall after that, KOing Egypt, so we swap in, risk a crit, and then can KO this thing with a Quad super effective Thunderbolt. We've gotten rid of Ice Beam for Surf as the Rhydon is baited out next. An Ice Beam wouldn't have KO'd and a quad super effective Surf does. We also aren't holding the choice specs for this battle. His next Pokemon is by far one of his scariest, the No Guard Machamp. So it is a swap into Sudan on an Earthquake, which we tank very well. Again, we're risking a crit here, but we go unpunished as we sit at 38 HP and cure off the confusion with a Lumberry. We tag the Machamp with a Yawn, and it's an immediately swap out into Molly. I thought this thing was going to go for another Dynamic Punch. Earthquake was not what I expected, but we survive on 30 HP. It goes down to a Snooze. We're going to risk some stuff here, unless we get a critical hit Poison Jab to one-shot the Machamp. This is going to bring in the Arcanine next. We are at risk to an extreme speed, so we need to swap, and I decide to bring Senegal back in. We can tank the extreme speed and the Flare Blitz, provided it doesn't crit, and fire off a stab super effective Earth Power to knock out the Arcanine from the range that it is currently at. That was a lot of risky play. His last Pokemon is a Pidgeot, and this is less risky as we can bring in Tunisia, which can wall every single one of Pidgeot's moves. We get hit with a return on the swap in, and then we try to go for an Ice Fang, but we get flinched from an Air Slash. We get a critical hit from Air Slash before taking this thing to half with Ice Fang. It gets frozen, Citrus Berry activates, and then it thaws out immediately to hit us with another Air Slash that flinches us again. What? It's a swap into Algeria on a mirror move that fails. Ice Shard then doesn't get the range to KO the Pidgeot, and return takes us down pretty low. A full restore from Blue is a little bit annoying. However, Algeria has had enough as Ice Shard gets a critical hit, knocking out the Pidgeot. Very nice. Making our way to the top of Mount Silver, we can take on the ultimate trainer in Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Red. He leads with a Pikachu and I lead Senegal. We are here to set up the sun. Iron Tail misses, which is really nice, and now we've just gotten rid of the hail. We get hit with an Iron Tail that does lower our defense, but we can take out the Pikachu with an Earth Power. It was always my plan to lead Senegal and get rid of the damn hail. Now this is going to bait out either the Lapras or the Blastoise, which we see Lapras, and we actually outspeed this Pokemon going for a Solar Beam that leaves it in low red health. So it goes for Brine, but it doesn't KO, leaving us at 20 HP. Red does use a full restore here, and I probably should have went for a chip damage move, but I was so excited, I just clicked Solar Beam, and the Sky Laser takes Lapras to yellow health. Red doesn't heal, we outspeed, and we take out the Lapras with a Flamethrower. Senegal, you absolute unit. Now as the Blastoise comes out, it was always destined that Senegal was going to fall, and this is how he goes down. We need a safe swap in here. It was a sacrifice that everybody was willing to make, and Senegal knew the price it was going to pay when I caught it back in Ilex Forest. My decision here is going to bring out Egypt, and we should be able to walk through the rest of this battle. There is no other Pokemon that can do much. Blastoise is a little bit scary. We do tank a Blizzard very nicely, but we get frozen. What the actual freeze is going on? A second Blizzard knocks us out, so it doesn't even matter. I was planning for one death, not two. That one hurts. I do decide to bring in Algeria at this point. We're going to fire off a nasty little Earthquake against the Blastoise, not quite taking it out. And of course, why wouldn't it connect with a Focus Blast, taking us to 100 HP? He's trying to KO my entire team. Obviously, that's the idea of this legal cockfighting that we do here in the Pokemon universe. We're not going to talk about it too much because it starts bringing up things. But nonetheless, we're going to level up. We're going to accept the death of Egypt there and swap into Molly as the Charizard comes out. Air Slash does a surprising amount of damage to half. Leftovers heals us up, and then a quad super effective Stone Edge connects, one-shotting the Charizard. At this point, that's all she wrote. The Snorlax and the Venusaur are both going to go down to Molly, no problem. Snorlax comes out, we hit it with a super effective Brick Break. I don't know why I thought that would KO in one shot. Luckily, Blizzard misses, or we would have been KO'd, and Brick Break knocks out the Snorlax. I have no idea. I didn't do any calculations, I just had it in my head that that was a one-shot. Earthquake is not a one-shot on the Venusaur, and I know this, but all it has is Giga Drain, which isn't going to do much to us. Does more than I think it should have. Never mind. Another Earthquake takes out the Venusaur, and that is it. That is the battle with Red, but at the cost of 2 very special Pokemon. I really hope you guys enjoyed this run. It was so much fun. Now, I do apologize for this video being a week late. As I said in my post on the channel, we had some real life happen. The grass-only run of Pokemon X was completed after my drive down here to Florida, and I had plans. We were going to work down here for a month, so I had scheduled my videos according to that, but things didn't work out. We got down here, it didn't really work out. We had to drive home. Again, my videos were on point because the Pokemon Emerald run came out as it should have with the drive home, but then with the graduation and the drive back down here, it didn't quite work out. We were supposed to leave the Tuesday after Memorial Day, but we didn't end up leaving until Friday, so we spent the whole weekend driving, and I just didn't have the time to put into this video, and we were at the Elite Four. So I gave myself a little bit of leeway. It was actually nice to have a little bit of a buffer before actually getting this video complete. So it is late, and again, I do apologize. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was 10 tons of fun for me. We had some really good teammates, and the ground types really shone here in Johto and Kanto, respectively. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Thank you for the continued support. If you enjoyed the video, you know the routine. Leave a like, leave a comment. Consider subscribing if you've made it this far into the video. And as always, I will see you on the next one.